unusual suspect. Brandon, what are we chatting about today?
All right, the fourth turning. So this is the essence of everything that's going on right now. I mean, ask anybody at the office. They're probably so like tired of me saying the fourth turning, the fourth turning. Anytime something crazy happens in the news, like, oh, this war's happening, oh, this crisis is happening, I'm just like, yep, fourth turning. Everybody's like, what the fuck are you talking about, the fourth turning? So what it is that there's these 100-year cycles, and it's like the building up and then the breaking down of a society. There's this great book written about it called The Fourth Turning if you want to check it out in detail. But what it is it's like, so go back to World War II. That was the breakdown of the last society. Then after that, it's a Goldilocks period. You know, things are chilling, doing great for 60 to 70, 80 years, and then now we're at the breakdown of it. So go back 100 years, World War II. Go back 100 years before that, Civil War. 100 years before that, the American Revolution. So it's just like the natural life cycle of a society that you have a rebirth, then like a Goldilocks period, then a breakdown, and then everything goes to shit. There's always a war that kind of finalizes it, ends it, and also correlates with the reserve currency. So big war, reserve currency breaks down, new reserve currency, new superpower, and that's where we're at right now. We're at sort of like the climax of the fourth turning. And shit's gonna go down probably for the next 5 years or so, but then after that, we're going to be in a Goldilocks period again if we survive it. So,
yeah, I think that's the
really
point.
Positive.
Yeah, right.
I'm really excited now.
We survived.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, this is the fourth turning where we've had nuclear weapons, so that's the concerning part.
Well, that's what's on the horizon. No pun intended, but that's what's happening.
The fourth turning, yeah. So we're in the shit right now. I mean, it's a good time to be in media because there's gonna be crazy shit happening every day. It's like a magnetic pole. There's nothing you can do about it. Like,
the silver lining is there's great ratings.
The old ways are breaking down.
We'll have 18,000 people watching live as the news go off.
The idea of the fourth turning, I mean, that's like an iteration of hard times make hard men, hard men make easy times makes easy men, and easy men make hard times.
That's such a confusing thing, too.
No, practice to get
I still can't follow it.
Well, the easier one is rice paddy to rice paddy in 3 generations. Is another iteration of that expression.
I like that better.
And on a macro scale and on a micro scale, like, you know, a family works hard, makes money. The dad understands what it was like to be poor, raises his family. They don't understand what it was like to be poor, and they piss it all away, and then their kids are living in, you know, going back to the rice paddies.
Yeah.
So on a cyclical level, it's happening. I don't. Look, I'll be the optimist. Nobody's dropping nukes and nobody's doing anything stupid because it's just. It requires a level of suicidal, maniacal behavior that no rational person has it, and no irrational person has it.
Right.
But we are gonna.
I think we're getting there. I think we're getting there.
And not even like for all the demonizing of, at the risk of even looking like I'm defending anybody, Putin is not that suicidal either.
No,
Neither is
Hillary
Iran.
Clinton when she was president, I guarantee you she'd be like, push it. Push it.
But there I could even see it as an argument a little more, but nobody wants to be that have that happen under their watch.
Right.
But it's going to get ugly, and there's going to be fighting, and there's going to be more social discord than we've ever seen.
Does it have to be a dictator that sets it off, though? Could it be a false flag that then preempts somebody else to then respond? Like if a dirty bomb or a nuclear bomb went off in New York City, but it was a third party that did it. It's not Russia. It's somebody acting as an agent of terror. Then the United States responds, and it rapidly escalates to the point where we're all fucking dust.
That can happen, but even more scary than that. How about if it doesn't happen, but there's a video that looks so realistic that circulates, and I don't want to get into
CGI.
See, and then people start freaking out internally. Like the rapidity with which disinformation circulates now. Like we've seen this in the conflict in Israel, Palestine. Like stories which will be proven false or inaccurate or wildly not reflective of reality. They go viral before the truth, 2 days later comes out, and then it's too late. Something that creates mass panic. You don't have to have a nuclear bomb go off, but if enough people think that something crazy just happened, you can have upheaval in cities.
Does Project Bluebeam fall under the fourth? What is it? The fourth
turning.
Does that fall under it?
It could be applicable to it. So that's like the concept of like what you're saying. If you make something look realistic, you believe it. And so if you use a deep fake to make it look like aliens are fucking coming down, blasting people with lasers, then you can say, all right, you have to stay in your house. The government's at war with aliens right now, so stay in your house, or
I'm seeing videos
or the
right
government
now.
themselves could be the ones like flying around fucking shooting people acting like they're aliens.
Right.
Things that crazy. Like it sounds crazy, but like plausibly it could actually happen.
So it doesn't have to be a big projection in the sky like everybody said Project Bluebeam was supposed to
be deep fake.
From everything I've ever read, Project Bluebeam was supposed to be the second coming of Christ in the skies.
Right.
We'd look up and they would project an image of Christ, and then we'd all be like, oh, Jesus is here at the end of times. But what you're saying is that can easily be achieved with CGI these days, and the advent of social media spreading that information out.
To create, at least localized panic. I mean, and this is not a crazy conspiracy theorist. I'm thinking out loud that, it doesn't even have to actually happen in order for there to be localized destabilization, panic, and all sorts of problems.
Well, look at the sirens that went off. Why did those go off? Why did everyone's phone go?
The 213.
Yeah. Why did everyone's phones go off? That's not just a random thing. That's what I'm saying. Like
I was live.
That's to show the mass panic. I think is on the way. Don't you think, Christy, or no?
Do you guys think? What I wanted to ask was, do you guys think that we're like the worst that humanity has ever been?
No.
I think everybody says that because everybody thinks that, but it's always been this bad.
Yeah, because what I think about with the fourth, sorry to interrupt you, with the fourth turning is that like every generation thinks that they had it the worst. So like I speak to my parents about like what they lived through when they escaped Cuba and like the Castro regime, and when they've gone like the assassination of Kennedy, like Nagasaki happening in Japan, like all these crazy moments in time where like people thought, oh, this is the worst that humanity's ever been. But if you really think about it, we're all just in a frame like this certain construct, this certain framework, and it just keeps repeating. So maybe we think that it's the worst now because of social media and because we see everything happening in the world.
Heightened, maybe?
Yeah, but I don't necessarily, I just think that like generationally, everybody thinks that they're in the worst time of our lives.
When Julius Caesar got assassinated, I'm sure they said this is the worst humanity.
Darkest day.
The darkest,
that was probably the fourth turning.
All of those moments, even like 9/11, you know what I mean? Like a lot of, Gen Zers, like they weren't even like around, so they don't even know the gravity of that situation. But when we remember it, we're like, wow, this is like a really big moment where something really, really bad could happen. I mean, something really bad did happen. So like, I think with the fourth turning, it's also like just a repetition of the same kinds of events and history repeating itself. And that's why people are so on top of trying to change history books and how things happen. People neglecting the Holocaust, because when you don't study your history, it's bound
to repeat itself.
Yep. And I think that's also something that made me think about when you started saying the fourth turning, like it's history repeating itself all over again. And like humanity just wants to continue this same cycle.
Well, because things aren't sustainable when it's like built up over the course, like a society's not built to last more than 100 years, because like the way that it's built up breaks down. Like look at all the unions going on strikes right now. That like whole New Deal FDR thing wasn't a system that was meant to last over 100 years. Pensions and Social Security was never a feasible thing to last more than a generation or so. But so like in the sense of like looking at a time where things are like perfect. So the last first turning was 1946 through 1963. Literally not a single bad thing happened during that time period. And any old person you talk to will be like, oh yeah, like things are so peaceful during my childhood. But then 1963, JFK dies, and then shit starts going down.
Yeah.
So that's like really the like Goldilocks period for like the that we could reference, and I think we're gonna have a period like that starting in the 2030s, because like that's gonna be like when AI and quantum computing makes everything really easy, and then we might have a nice time of like massive growth and peace. And
what did you call it? The Goldilocks?
Yeah, there's literally a Goldilocks period. After
and was that the last time that we had peace on Earth? Well, okay, peace on Earth.
Oh yeah,
there's not peace on Earth
because the U.S. literally had all the gold in the world. Every other country in the world is kind of decimated from World War II, and we were just like setting this initiative for the entire world of like saying how things were going to go. Our Navy ruled the sea. We were helping Europe rebuild itself with the Marshall Plan because they had no money left either. So the only threat.
So what marked the end of that? The
JFK assassination.
And then 70s we had Vietnam. 80s we had the Cold War. 90 we had domestic terrorism with Oklahoma City, and then 2000s we have 9/11, and then the war on terror through 2020.
Yeah.
Yep, and the 08 crisis.
Well, and then, when you look into whether or not some of these crises were manufactured, not manufactured in the sense of they didn't happen, but the Oklahoma I'm thinking of in particular, and when you understand some of the deeper conspiracies that actually prove to be true, you wonder whether or not these things are sort of cyclical, not on purpose, but rather manufactured cyclical.
Wasn't there, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but during the Oklahoma City bombing, wasn't there was documents that the Clintons were trying to hide? Did you hear that? Did you hear this? They were trying to hide, and then they got Tim McVeigh. He was like he was like he was ex-military.
Yeah.
And then they basically just put him as a decoy, and story takes care of itself.
These are on our channel with Robert Barnes, VivaBarneslaw.locals.com. We go into these like rabbit holes. I'm still like wet behind the ears when it comes to the Oklahoma, but now I'm not so wet behind the ears when it comes to other, conspiracies where you have very interesting players that come up time and time again historically. But once you sort of understand that it's not history repeats, but history doesn't repeat, but it tends to rhyme, Mark Twain. And then you understand, like, yeah, these things they are cyclical to some extent, but our Goldilocks age, I'm sure, was not a Goldilocks age for other countries.
Exactly.
And so it shifts around, and it's got to get hard for people to appreciate that buses don't just run on time because that's the way it is. Society, systems that take time to build up. Put together. And then when you have something cataclysmic that breaks them up, you appreciate that the stability that comes with society.
Right.
That's a good point, yeah. Yeah, Robert Barnes is a beast. I watch a lot of his stuff with George.
The Oklahoma, man. I know that there's stuff that I still don't know to the depths of that bizarreness. But when I discovered the truth about Waco, and not in a crazy way, the actual truth about Waco, and whether or not it was a manufactured crisis, facilitated crisis, so that they could then have an excuse to justify budgets, use of weapons, existence in and of itself. You really start to reassess everything that you took for granted with that current knowledge in hindsight.
Yeah, I would just really like to see people be more engaged and like active in what the government's doing, because if at least 50% of the population was like literally engaged and like up to speed on what the government was doing, interested in what they were doing, and actually could like recite what they were doing and hold Congress accountable, then we'd have a whole different situation. But I mean, the reality of it is probably like 2% of people are actually.
Why do you think that is? Attention spans, social media?
Well,
Absolutely.
they put this stuff out there on purpose. It's like the bread and circus thing. Like, why is there such a push for like the TMZ type of stuff or sports or like what's the next like exciting, hot, stupid thing or Kardashian bullshit? And then look at
what's trending on TikTok.
Yeah,
what's going
dude.
viral.
If you're look at like a congressional vote on TV, it looks like it's filmed in the 1980s with the way they do it, like with the votes and everything. And that's on purpose too. They make it boring and
so
ugly.
you don't pay attention.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the people's lives are busy. They have to worry about their jobs, their family, and all the stuff without worrying about the lamentable state of politics. But I wonder if you do a poll and just ask people, do you know what Project Mockingbird is? And I don't know what percentage would say yes or no. I know my crowd would say 80% yes.
That's a great idea.
Really?
We should run a poll.
Run a poll.
Yeah.
Do it. The crowd watching now I think will be more likely than not to know what Project Mockingbird is. Well, I did just as a thought experiment. Wikipedia. So, in as much as this unreliable website wants to cover up bad conspiracy theories, they report on this. I just whited out the words of the years and the countries and left the description of the details of Project Did I say Project Mockingbird?
Yeah.
No, I meant. Oh, geez, Louise. I meant Operation Northwoods this entire time.
Oh, yeah.
But so just.
It's kind of under the same umbrella.
Oh, it's under the same umbrella.
Yeah.
So I just screen grabbed Operation Northwoods, blacked out the country, the years, and then said fill in the country and the year mutatis mutandis. And my goodness, does it look like something that actually happened in 2001?
So for the people who don't know what Project Northwoods was,
Operation Northwoods. It will blow. If I look in the it will. Where's the camera? It'll blow your mind. It will blow your freaking minds. Operation Northwoods was. Basically a project of domestic terrorism that was approved by the Department of Defense, submitted to JFK, and it consisted of hijacking airplanes, false flags to make it look like Cuba had carried out acts of terrorism to justify public or to foment public support for a war against Cuba. Mass killings, planes flying into buildings. You fill in the blanks, and it's jaw-dropping. Now, I'm not saying that that's what happened in 9/11, but when you understand that the Department of Defense approved it and submitted it to JFK, and he said no, and it stopped there, except a year and a half later, he's no longer alive.
Wow.
You can ask some questions as to what president did not potentially block this and did not get himself assassinated, and then you get into the assassination of JFK and why it had to be so public and so graphic and so shocking to the social conscience. But everyone should look up Operation Northwoods. It'll blow your mind. Operation Paperclip will blow your mind. Project Mockingbird.
Gulf of
Tonkin will blow your mind.
Sure.
And then you realize
about that at all.
No, that's another one that I have yet to do the deep dive into. But
it's brutal.
But it's once you realize how dark and depraved it really is. I mean, it makes someone like me want to say, well, can I check back out and go back into the Matrix and just go back to being a lawyer? It's too late. It's too late for that.
You're in, my man.
Yeah.
And then you start going down more rabbit holes, and you're like, wait, why did they kill JFK? Wait, what's up with the Operation Mockingbird? All that stuff is just.
And you used to be a lawyer?
I used to be a lawyer, like for over a decade of practice. I was sworn in 2007.
What kind of lawyer?
Commercial litigation in Quebec. I'm Canadian. We'll get into that in my bit, but
welcome,
Canadian commercial litigation, like everything except for tax, family, and criminal.
What about traffic? I got a ticket.
Oh God, no. The issue with that is that in Canada we don't have that market for that type of practice. But no, so that's it. I mean, contracts, landlord-tenant disputes, some copyright, IT stuff, IP, I should say. But yeah, no, it's nice. When you're busy with that, you don't pay attention to what they're doing, and 99.9% of the people on Earth are not paying attention to what they're doing.
Guys, we're in a fourth turning right now, so if you do not know what the fourth turning is, every 90 to 100 years, society breaks down. The old ways go away and a new thing is built. So think World War II. 90 to 100 years ago. The Civil War, 90 to 100 years before that. The American Revolution, 90 to 100 years before that. So every time there's a fourth turning, it's a huge 100 years level war along with a new reserve currency. And that's why getting survival food is more important than ever before. So now you can create your own stockpile of the best selling 4 Patriot survival food kits. It's not ordinary food. We're talking about good for 25 years survival superfood. They have different delicious breakfasts, lunches, dinners. You can make these meals in 20 minutes. 4 Patriot Survival offers more than just food. They offer state-of-the-art generators, solar cell phones, solar cell phone chargers, solar flashlights, EMP shields, portable refrigerators that are solar powered, water filters. Definitely want those. The World Economic Forum saying that we're gonna have a water shortage that they're gonna push along. And so much more. This site is awesome. I love it. And right now, listeners of this show, the Brandon Aceto Show, will get 10% off their first order at 4patriots.com by using promo code Let's Go Brandon. Again, go to 4patriots.com and use promo code Let's Go Brandon to get your stockpile started today. I'm going to put the link below in the description and go to 4patriots.com, use promo code Let's Go Brandon. Be ready. Don't get caught off guard. It's the ultimate insurance policy.